Hi, this is Julian from Luminatic.com. Today I am critiquing a set of images, and those images are from Thomas. Thomas is a motorcycle photographer from Bremen in Germany, and I met with Thomas. A while ago I spent a weekend with my wife in Bremen, and we went there by bike, obviously. And on the Sunday, Thomas and I met for the first time in the real world. We've only known each other from Facebook before, and we spent the afternoon shooting my bike, and that was lots of fun. And now I got the images from Thomas, and he agreed that I can critique them and make a screencast of it for everybody else to learn. Okay, so let's start. Those are 60 images, so I'm not spending too much time with each image. Let's see what we got. That's my Tiger in front of the waterfront in Bremen, which is a big shopping center. It was Sunday, so there were only a few people visiting the cafe, and the rest was empty, so that was a good location to shoot. First thing I notice here, the bike is prominent. It's in the foreground. That's very nice. The background is also interesting, but not too distracting. Okay, there are a few people in a trash can. This is a little bit distracting, but that's not too bad. But I am noticing one thing, and this is sharpness. Zooming in, I only got the JPEGs, by the way, and Thomas told me that he only did the Lightroom edits, so there's no Photoshop involved. This is not completely sharp, and I think the focus point was a little bit behind the bike. And this is something you always should take care of, that the focus point is right. This was shot at f3.8, so quite wide open, and at 50 millimeters, so always take care. Besides the focus issue, this is a very nice image. Second one, and I like this even more because it's from a lower position. The camera was very low here, and same, bike has not been moved. Thomas just moved a little bit to the right, went lower, and this is even nicer because the building gets a little bit more less prominent. So if I go back, this is towering above the bike. This one puts the bike more in the center of attention. The sharpness looks good here. And of course, if you'd have edited this in Photoshop, then you'd also could have cleaned up this one here, for example. This is quite difficult in Lightroom because you have to clone away everything. But in Photoshop you can remove dust and scratches with a special filter. But anyhow, this is even better than the first one. I like it. The light, it was, as you can see, bright sunlight, hard shadows here. You can soften this a little bit by taking the brush tool and lighting up the darker areas to make the contrast between the area where light is and where no light is a little less punchy. But it's okay like this. This is just the light we had, so he made the best out of the situation. Same location, just 90 degrees. The bike moved like 20 meters and shooting in another direction towards the harbor. Also a very nice scenery. Only thing is that the bike is facing a little bit away from the camera. So it's not really a side portrait, but also not a three-quarter shot. So something in between, and the shot can't really decide which one it is. Let's see, the sharpness looks good. Yeah, that's where it is. That's sharp. That's very good. Shot at f8. Of course, you've got a higher depth of field there, and everything is fine. Here the bike is a little too dark, and too much background here, too much building in the back. Bike is totally in the shadow. This one, and there are people here, those always draw attention, so the bike is facing outwards of the image. So there are a few things which could have been done better here. The shot, to go back, I need to calibrate my monitor again. Here, this one I like better because it's from a lower position. Okay, another one, still moved a little. This is the cafe where we had breakfast together, and basically this is an interesting building as a background here with the pattern. Only issue I have here, this umbrella is intersecting with the bike, and this is distracting a little. Of course, there are the clouds which could have been removed, but those are not too bad. But the umbrella is a little bit a little bit strange and distracting. Sharpness is good. Yeah, next one. The next two ones are quite similar. I don't know why he included those. One seems to be no, it's got different metadata. These ones, I'm not happy with those because the wheels are cut off, because there were steps. There are stairs here towards the water, and he was standing a few steps down, and the bottom of the wheels is hidden. Also, the building in the back is too prominent. Sharpness is, yep, that's where it is. Okay. That's a wonderful full frontal portrait. The bike has got a mad look. It looks aggressive and or just nuts. And with the bags on, this is just a thick piece of technology. I like it. It's my bike after all. There is one thing I would change, which is getting rid of these spots here, which you can do in Photoshop, because this is a little bit disturbing here. In the other, not disturbing, but distracting. So this would make the image more calm and give it more impact. Oh, who's that guy and that beautiful lady? Yeah, the photographer's curse is that you don't have pictures of yourself usually, because you're always behind the camera. So I'm very happy that Thomas was behind the camera to make some portraits of me and my wife and the bike. So this is very good. Thank you very much. Here I noticed several smaller things. Here this one should have been cleaned up. Here you can see that a bike in harsh light is not that much of a problem as a face. Here the nose, here this part of the face is very bright, this one is very dark, and I think you already lightened it up a bit. So that's a very difficult thing, lighting faces and people in harsh sunlight. Another funny thing, which is not really an issue, but it's funny, that this rope here from the ship and the seam on my biker jeans looks like it's intersecting. It looks like it's one thing. That's funny. Okay, yeah, that's a nice image. Thank you very much, Thomas. Okay, now there are some shots from the happy couple. Basically the same thing to say here. Harsh light in the sun, faces in harsh sunlight is always difficult. Okay, that's the making of. He was actually shooting from the left side, and he said to my wife, yeah, could you lean on the bike casually? And she said, well, I'm too small, the bike is so high. And I lay down for my wife to be the step for her. Okay, so this was just a making of. This one looks a little bit strenuous because she's leaning so much over. It would have been a little bit better if she would have been a little bit more towards the back of the bike. That's better. Yeah, that's better. This tower here. Oh yeah, there are several things with these images here. The chimney is coming up. It looks like it's coming out of the helmet or out of her arm. This could have even been erased with Lightroom, I think. Same here with this. So always watch the background when shooting. So is there something behind the bike, sticking up behind it? And in this case, it's the chimney coming out of the elbow. Okay, that's good. Very nice, yes. Always the chimney. And, oh yeah, that was a container that stood there, obviously container, and we made good use of the harsh sunlight because for faces it's not so flattering, but the structure of the container came out very well with all the shadow. So we placed the bike before the container here, and that's a very nice contrast. It's a strong blue, it's a strong red. You've got this, whatever this is in English, where you can tie the lines to secure the ship around. And yeah, that's a very nice one. I like this. Same position here, just I think laying down low. You see the difference in perspective, how much space is above this bike here, above here. And in the next image, just another perspective, another focal length. The container seems to be smaller. So of course it's the same container, but the impact it has is quite different. So pro tip, perspective matters. Okay. Again, nice full frontal portrait. And yeah, despite the already mentioned freckles or specks here, which could have been erased in Photoshop, or the dirt here on the cooling system, everything is fine. Okay, f16. So the aperture is very small. So you see that the sun, the reflection here is doing these rays. This happens when the aperture is very small. This is the machine with the engine running and the high beam on. The star effect is not that it's more like a yellow fog coming around it. So I don't know if you intended this effect, but it looks good. It looks good anyhow. But I was just thinking about if you wanted to have these stars here. But I think the light source is too big. If this is a small point, a small light source, so it's giving a lot of these rays, and this is a bigger one. Okay, sharpness is okay. I think it's 1/30 second, so there might be a little bit. This might be a little bit too slow for a handheld shot. So usually you say it's a rule of thumb. The handheld shots can be sharp starting from 1 divided by focal length in seconds. So if you shoot at 50 millimeters, you should at least shoot at 1/50th second or faster. Biker portrait, yes. Thank you very much. At last, images of me on the bike. Here, I think you can see that this is not really sharp because there is some sharpness lost. Yeah, it's not completely sharp. The point is, if there is a human being, if there's a face in the image, people always go for the face or the eyes. In this case, of course, the sunglasses. And if that's not absolutely tack sharp, people will always have the impression, meh, that's not as punchy as it could be. Same here, 30th second. It's a little bit sharper. 30th second, not completely sharp, but this is too slow. You should shoot at higher shutter speeds, especially in this kind of sun. So you can shoot at 1/200th of a second at least, or faster, and go down with the aperture, or open the aperture. Same here, although this is quite sharp. Okay, yeah, it's all, you can see here it's too bright, so you shouldn't have shot at 1/30th. Okay, I think I've said this enough now. Yeah. But it's a very nice image, so it's really cool composition with the blue, and the bike is at a good angle, so really nice portrait. Yeah. This is where I drove in circles around Thomas, and he did panning shots, and now he shot at 1/30th of a second, and this is what you need for a panning shot. Panning shot means you the bike is going from left to right through the frame, and you move the camera along with the bike, so that during the exposure the bike is always in the same position in the frame, and the camera and the rest moves. So the bike is stationary in the frame, although it moves because you move the camera. I'm talking too much. And the rest, the background is blurred. And this came out absolutely nice because these are very sharp. This is very well. These are sharper than the ones you did, the stationary portraits you've made. That's very good. One thing I should have paid attention to this one. This looks not very good because sometimes leather jackets make a very unflattering bulge here, and it's not connected to all the ice cream I inhaled, but you should close the pocket here because this looks stupid. Same here, pocket should be closed. Since I drove in circles, he just turned around and shot in every direction. Here, yeah, the people are not too distracting. It's okay. Due to the fact that this bike is sharp and the rest is not sharp. The bike is automatically in the center of attention. Same here. Perhaps this pink or lavender shaded whatever, I would have desaturated this because this draws attention. But anyhow, those are very good panning shots, really. Same here. Yeah. I think that's my favorite because the background is not too distracting. There are not too many objects. For example, here there are still people and so on, and this one gives a nice contrast. You see something of the sky, and everything is the bike is sharp, so that's really a very good job. This one's also, wow, that's absolutely sharp. Wow, that's astonishing. This one's absolutely sharp here. Face a little unsharp, but well, anyhow, that's really good job. Okay, we moved to another location. Bremen is a trade city and has got a lot of cargo trade going on. There are several cargo terminals, and luckily they are open somehow. So there are gates, but the gates are open, and so we just could go there. So that was very nice. That was still outside, just outside the fence, but we went inside the fence a while later. Again, Thomas, you have to pay attention to this. It's all shot. I'm flipping through the. Here you change it. It's still at 1/30th of a second, so you had to dial the aperture down. And okay, he used a flash, one flash off camera left to illuminate the bike. I think this is the flash, the thing here. And again, we have the focus thing. The container is tack sharp, and the bike is not sharp. So this is something that needs attention. Here it's good. So it's I like this composition more, because here the bike is just one of the many things to look at, and here the bike is a little bit more prominent, although the cargo train thingy, the locomotive, is also very prominent, so the eye doesn't really know in the first instance what should be the subject of this image. Is it the bike or the locomotive? Okay, another handsome gentleman here. Flash from the left to counter the sunlight. It's at 14 millimeters, so this is heavily distorted. I can't use Lightroom's lens correction database at the moment because these are JPEGs, and Thomas did a test with the original images. In JPEG, Lightroom doesn't offer this was shot with a Tokina lens, 11 to 16 millimeters, f2.8, and when I want to enable the profile correction and I want to choose Tokina, it's not here. And when a RAW file is selected, Thomas tried it with his Lightroom version, then all the lens manufacturers come up here, so I can't do the profile correction, which would have taken away some of the distortion here. Okay, the image. I like it. It's of course shows a lot of distortion because it's wide angle, but that's the charm and the style of this one. Not everything has to be in perfect proportions, so this is photography. This is still, well, is it art? Yes, let's call it art. So anything's allowed as long as it looks good. And this one looks good. Perhaps a little bit less flash would have been okay. So this is really, he didn't use a light former, so he just had a small diffuser on it, which was not bigger than the flash cover itself, so not a big softbox. So this is quite harsh light, which is okay, but it's a little bit too much, so a little bit less flash power would have been okay. Same here. This one is cool. The bike and the crane are battling for attention. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I like it because it's this towering perspective with the crane and so on, and the sun coming in here, but the eye can't really decide. It's at 160th second at 15 millimeters, so this is sharp. Oh yes, that is sharp. That's good. This one also very nice because the Sun is in the frame, the lens flare. Bike is a little bit... perspective could have been a little bit more camera position to the left, because now the bike is at the corner, and at the corner, or more towards the corner, the distortion is bigger, so the bike is leaning back a lot. As you can see, it looks like it's leaning back because the distortion is so big. This one I like. This is great. The bike is clearly in the center. The sky is just wonderful. There's strong colors. This is red, blue, wonderful clouds. There's the cargo crane hook thingy, and it's not battling for attention, but it's a nice supplement to the image. This is very nice. One of my favorites here. Same here. Sun, lens flare. It's leaning back, but that's the perspective. Oh yeah. Here comes Daddy Longlegs. Again, thing with the perspective. 11 millimeters is extreme. Here we have the background thing again. Look behind my shoulder. This is the thing I would have done removed in Photoshop. And perhaps a little bit less flash power, but it's okay. Same here. Bike is more towards this end, and it's quite disproportionate. The rear wheel looks okay-ish, and this one is it's an egg. It's not a wheel. And here I've got a bobblehead. But yeah, 14 millimeters. That's normal shooting from this. This is very good. Actually, Thomas told me, yeah, lean in a little bit towards me. So this was quite unnatural, because I was leaning forward at an angle that that felt very unnatural. So I had to put a lot of body tension not to fall over. But this actually helped in order not to make me look disproportionate, like, where is it? Here, I tried the same, leaning forward, but my legs are still that long. But here it worked quite well. So the distortion of the lens was tricked by me moving forward a little. So this was a very good idea from Thomas. I haven't used this before. That's a clever trick I will remember. Okay, the bike, a little bit too much flash. Yeah, these are great. But we have, I think, the sharpness problem. Yeah, this is... Where's the focus point? Where is it sharp? Somewhere a little bit behind the bike. It's okay at this resolution, but if you zoom in, especially here, or is this perhaps the post-processing? I don't know. Looks a little unsharp, a little mushy, I don't know. Okay, we made some... they're supposed to be ironic. I hope this comes over as some portraits of me on the bike doing the hero pose, tucking the belly in. Yeah, that was the ice cream I mentioned. I like the image. It's really good. So sharp, but again, look at this. The container here is tack sharp, and the bike is not that sharp. Also, now the face is not completely sharp, but the container is. So I don't know. Perhaps if it occurs that often, it might also be that you've got a back focus problem. So Thomas, you should check the lens. Oh, that was shot with another lens. I see. That was not the Tokina. Anyhow, check the lenses. Perhaps they've got a back focus problem. I don't know. Otherwise, just pay attention to the focus. Okay, here I was clearly joking. I hope you can see that. So that was actually quite a balancing act, because shifting the weight on the back here made the front wheel go up. So I was a little scared that it would topple over. Of course I wouldn't. The bike is much heavier than me. But it was a little bit artistic. So that's my absolute favorite portrait. Actually, I've never had a portrait that I like that much. We only have the sharpness thing again. It's such a nice portrait. That's cool. That looks good. The bike comes out well. The background is nice. The lighting is good, and considering the harsh conditions we were shooting in, of course, and it's just great. Great composition, but sharpness. What a pity. Ah yeah, okay. That's a Photoshop thing I did. Thomas gave me one raw file. It's this one, where I wanted to fake movement in Photoshop later. This is an idea I got from Eddie Belasteros from 511 Media, who's also on the Motorcycle Photographers Forum, and he's got one of those images as a profile pic. So he stood on the bike while it was on the kickstand photographing and holding the camera, and he photoshopped the kickstand away and photoshopped movement in, so that it looked as if he stood on the bike while riding, taking pictures. This is what I tried. I'm not so happy with the results. I still need to work on my Photoshop skills. It looks okay-ish, but actually I'm not so sure if it's that convincing. So if you show it to somebody, he will say, nah, it looks strange, I think. Okay, anyhow, that's another raw file. We're not going to take these. Okay, here these are the last images, some couple portraits, and yeah, they are actually why I am looking so stern, I don't know. I think I tried to look cool, and this is what's the result. I'm looking like an idiot. Yeah, a little bit, so much red in the image, so the colors look a little bit strange. Okay, here I smile like an idiot. Don't look cool, look friendly, and I look like an idiot. Okay, smooches. And that's, yeah, that's it. That was the final image we did, group portrait. This is Thomas, so thank you, Thomas, very much for your time, for taking all these pictures, and really enjoyed the evening. My wife also, she doesn't ride, she doesn't photograph, but she enjoyed the day, and so that was a good sign that it was really a fun session. So, thank you very much. I hope you could take some information with you. 60 images, nearly 27 minutes, so that means we have 30 seconds per image, so that's quite okay. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Bye.